misdemeanor site.
10-4-12. Welcome to Law and Order BUX. I'm your host, Bucks County Sheriff Fred Harran. Every corner of Bucks County has a story to tell. Sometimes a story of resilience. Sometimes a story that chills us to the bone. Sometimes a story of government not being able to get out of its own way. Here, the forces of law and order are constantly at work, often behind the scenes. Join us as we delve into the gripping realities of crime and justice in our community. We'll explore the hidden worlds, the difficult decisions, and the unwavering commitment it takes to maintain law and order right here in Bucks County. Hi, I'm Fred Harran, your host of Law and Order BUX, BUX, for episode 18. And today is September 11th, 2025, 24 years after the fatal, devastating, horrific attack on our country. And I remember, like most of you, I remember where I was at this time. 24 years ago, I was in Bensalem Township. I was the deputy chief at the time, the deputy director at the time in Bensalem, and I remember I was on my way to Harrisburg to a meeting for the Pennsylvania Chiefs, and I think it was in Bucks County on the Turnpike when it got turned around. The meeting got canceled immediately and got turned around and told to go back to Bensalem. And I remember getting back there pretty quick and watching it, what was happening. And we're not gonna talk today a lot about that day. I'm going to be bringing on a special guest. He couldn't do it today. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to come back to 9/11, and I'm going to bring on a good friend of mine that was there with NYPD, a high-ranking NYPD officer 24 years ago, and what happened, what he saw, what he experienced. Today is a little difficult for him, so he's not on today. But we're going to bring this back because I don't think this should be forgotten. It's a shame. It's not really. I don't know what they're doing today in schools across America. Hopefully, this is being drilled into our children's heads, not some of the other stuff that's being drilled in. But we're talking about that day. As I learned when I was in school about the attacks on Pearl Harbor, and then as I've talked before, my dad fought right after Pearl Harbor. Not fought, but was a doctor in the European theater. And we learned that in our history classes. I'm not sure this is really taught to the extent it should be. But we're going to come back and talk about 9/11. But I think it's just how do you not think about it today? 4 different times that day, starting at 8:46, 9:03, 9:37, and then at 10:30 when Flight 93 went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. I was just there a couple of weeks ago. I was out there doing a presentation, and I had never been to the fields there, and I didn't know what to expect. But talk about a sombering place. But growing up in New York City, I remember driving, even in the early 70s. Now, I was just a young kid, but I can remember the towers going up. Iconic. It was just every time I passed by them, even being a native New Yorker, in awe of the magnificent structure that they were. I actually had a friend that was a chef for a major company during the first attack in the 90s. And, I think there was 4 or 5 people that were killed in that attack, but they failed to bring the towers down until September 11th, 2001. But we're going to come back to that in later episodes. But please, everybody, today, just think about that. And I was going to bring up 9/11 later as I had my friend on. But, what is going on? We got to take a reset, dude. We got to take a moment's pause with what is going on in this country. And every day I find myself in conversations with people. Thankfully, not yelling or screaming, and just conversations with people. But that's not what's happening. With what happened yesterday with with Charlie Kirk in Utah. How is someone speaking who's not even, screams and yells and pounds his fists, a guy that's so articulate and so, well liked and revered, uh, and to see that execution an execution, that's what it is, on television. We can't disagree without yelling at one another, without calling each other Nazis, without shooting at one another, without screaming, without saying the F word to one another, without walking away. I had an interaction with someone at an event in Bristol Borough, and because that person disagreed with me, she was screaming at me on Mill Street, giving me the finger, uh, and cursing at me. And I'm just sitting there like, I swear to you, I was not nasty to her. I tried to have a real conversation. She just didn't like my argument for the conversation. And she just starts throwing me the bird and F you in the middle of the street at a family event on a Sunday stroll in Bristol Borough, which is an amazing event. If you've never been to one, it's fantastic. But why can't we disagree without screaming at one another, without referring to, to me as pre-World War II Nazi Germany, without, with taking a gun and shooting Charlie Kirk, without, attempting assassination on the President of the United States, without, F this and F that. And, I saw a guy yesterday here in Doylestown, ding dong, the witch is dead. What kind of society are we? Folks, we got to get our crap together. We got to take a moment's pause. Stop the rhetoric. Stop the nonsense. We can work together. There used to be a saying, I don't know if it's true anymore. There's much more that unites us than divides us. I don't know if that's true. And that's scary. Tip O'Neill, Ronald Reagan would argue every day and then have drinks after work hours, if there's such a thing in their business, but then would laugh and joke and get along. Why can't we do that? Killing executives on the streets, because of the policies of their companies. Oh, okay, you don't like it and the policies could be wrong. Does somebody need to die for that? We got to stop, man. What have we become? What have we become? The things that are said to me, the things that have been said to me over the years because somebody didn't like a stance I took on something. I get it. It's okay not to like a stance I took on something. I get it. But to make threatening remarks, to curse and scream, is that going to get you anywhere? And now to take a rifle and shoot someone at 200 yards. We've got to stop. I mean, we just have to stop. I'm trying to we had somebody scheduled today, but we canceled because it was between 9/11 and what's happening. And, what happened to this poor woman, Irina, in Charlotte, North Carolina. We got to get our act together. The look, everything else on that video that I've watched, the zooming in on her eyes, I can't imagine having that kind of fear in my life. And what went on in those last seconds of her breath when this maniac, this criminal that should not have been on the streets. And I imagine when we finally get, and they will get him, the FBI will find this guy, this assassin, and his history and the mental health that he probably is suffering for. And we've talked about it on the podcast. Our mental health system has failed in this country. And we do the best we can in Bucks County, but it's still not good enough. And we're a pretty good county with that sort of stuff, but it is failing. We've got to get our act together. People need help. And some people, guess what? Need to be locked up. If you've been locked up by the police and found guilty 14 times, you should not see the light of day ever again. It's not that hard. If you have been arrested 14 times, and I don't really give a we almost had to bleep it out. I don't give a damn, darn, say whatever the hell you want. I would say something more. You should not see the light of day again. You make a mistake, you make two, you make three. I get it. Everybody needs breaks. Everybody needs to get, their life straightened out, and we should help them with mental health, with drugs. But if you've been locked up 14 times, should never have been on the street. Should never have been on the street. And it's both sides of the aisle. But we have to stop with this lunacy of letting people out of jails. And these catch and release policies that we have. Thank God here in Bucks County, our judges do a good job. Thank God. But we're not so lucky with what surrounds us. And it's not a political statement. It's a law enforcement statement. It's a life statement. It's a human statement. I don't care what side of the aisle on. Everybody should want, and what country you're from. And whether you're right-handed or left-handed or wherever you come from in the world or whatever your beliefs are, whether you're Christian or Jewish or Muslim, it doesn't matter. You should want your family and you to be safe and our neighbors to be safe. This is just a want that we should have. This is a want that America deserves. This is what coming to America is about. What the hell are we doing? I don't know. Could I rant like this for a little longer? Maybe, but I don't know. Folks, we've got to take a recess. We got to take a pause. We got to take a reset. And it starts with people screaming on television crazy stuff and supporting very carefully violent ideas. And you know who you are. I don't know if they're watching this podcast, but we know who they are. Those that are watching this podcast and listening to this podcast, you know who they are because they're on television every goddamn night. I said darn. They're on television every night, and we know who they are. We've got to stop these talk show hosts, these actors and actresses, and these politicians and these sports people. You've got to stop because for whatever crazy reason, people listen to you. You know what? And the truth is, and I've said this, I've never said this on air before, but during the COVID years, we lived fine without Tom Hanks. We lived fine without the Bradys in the world. We lived fine without our actors and our sports figures. You know who I needed? I needed the guy or gal working at Walmart putting toilet paper on the shelf. That's the one we needed. But we listen to these other people that really do what you do on your Sundays and your sports and your acting. And I'm not minimizing that. But do what you do, but keep your political opinions to yourself. No one cares. And especially some of our elected officials. We're entitled to our opinions, but we've got to slow down the rhetoric, hatred for one another. And I don't mean this in a weak way, but I love everybody. I am, they really just be good people. I don't care what your personal issues are, even what your personal feelings are. I called a person the other day. I'm not going to mention this person's name in the county, who obviously I argue with this person publicly about things because I have my ideas about. But then we worked together. I had to call this person. I'm not even telling you male or female, and about somebody else, and we solved the problem together. I got off the phone with this person, and I'm like, man, we solved this problem on a Friday after hours, if there's such a thing, and we solved this problem. And can you imagine if we worked together, if we all worked together on issues, the amount of good we can do? But for some reason, it's more attractive to fight with one another. We're going to bring back my friend about 9/11 because growing up in New York City, this means a lot to me. Folks, we gotta take a major reset and get our act together. And I guess I mentioned Tom Hanks earlier. I'll mention him again in the words of Tom Hanks via Forrest Gump. And that's all I got to say about that. So let's move on. All right. So we did change a little course today, and we put out, actually yesterday, we put out an email or a poll, I guess, and asked people to send questions in. And we're going to answer them. I could tell you I've got, I'm not going to get to them we've got 14 questions, some of them with numerous parts, and that was only like an 18-hour block of time on the internet. So we did get some questions out. I will say that last night we had our first official Police Athletic League fundraiser. Dom Giordano and I were guest bartenders. He was the guest. I was just me. Dom's a celebrity here, and we packed the house at Chambers 19. I don't know what the dollar amount is. We're gonna know later today. But John, the owner there, gave us 15% of the take. I gotta say, I was very pleased with my bartending skills. I did it pretty. A couple of wise guys had to order Cosmos and things like that. I had a tough time, but I had the real bartenders were there, and the two ladies were phenomenal. I will stick to law enforcement. I learned yesterday that I do not ever want to be a bartender. I was dying after 2 hours. My feet were, and I changed. I didn't wear a suit. I was actually changed into street clothes, and I had great sneakers on. I went old school Adidas, and they were good, my comfy sneakers, and my back was killing me. And I felt like I had liquor all over me. So good thing I didn't get stopped by the police. I never needed a drink, but I probably smelled pretty bad. So let's move on with some questions. I'm going to skip to this one because I love it. And I actually looked at these questions about 10 minutes before we went on the air. From Jessica. Jessica, what makes someone decide to get into law enforcement in the first place? Jessica, that's a great question, and I would probably take up the rest of the time today answering it. But I'm going to kind of give you a quick version of that, Jessica, and hopefully you're listening, or at some point you'll put the podcast on and hear your answer. For me, I wanted to do law enforcement when I was like 13 years old. I think I told everybody this story in one of the podcast episodes. And my father was a surgeon for NYPD. The Knapp Commission was alive and well in New York City in 1974, 1975. I would have been 11 years old in 75. And I can remember all these police officer patients of his telling me, don't get involved in law enforcement. So I kind of got away from that. And I wanted to go to John Jay University. Then when I got back interested in it at the end of high school, but my parents really persuaded me not to do that. So I was a theater major, but I came back into law enforcement in 1987 when I got hired in Mid-Salem. But and I know this is kind of a corny answer, but I really like the feeling of helping someone. Even when I partnered with this person that I didn't agree on political views with, we partnered together and we solved a very, the problem was this elderly woman had gotten evicted from her house and she had nowhere to go, and we got her a roof over the head. It was raining that night, and we got her a roof over her head that night. And that feels good. That really feels good. And that happens every day in this job. And the other part of this job is you never know. Oh boy, I shouldn't have mentioned Tom Hanks, because here we go, another Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump. Police work's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Every day, and I like Tom Hanks. Sorry, Tom. I'm sorry I shouldn't have said anything about you. That was wrong, but you know what I mean. But every day, you never know what you're going to get here, and no 2 days are ever the same. And that's what I like about it. I like the mysteriousness of the day. I have my day planned. Even in the sheriff's office, I have my day planned, and it never goes that way. Today already, we're almost halfway into the day, and I got sidetracked a million ways. And I love that. I love that about the day. Some people probably that doesn't appeal. Some people have a schedule, and I'm pretty OCD with things. Like when I go home, my watch is in the same place every night. My wallet's in the same place every night. Yes, that's my OCD. So that's what I like about the job, and I would think there's a lot of folks out there like that. But the best part is actually solving a problem and helping people. From Brian, Sheriff, it feels like every day we hear another story about fentanyl in our communities. It's terrifying. From your seat, what actually is working to fight this? What are your guys and gals seeing on the street right now? Brian just wrote guys, but I try to make it very neutral, guys and gals. But boy, fentanyl is the problem's not going away. I will tell you, Brian, that I think I said this before, and here's the date, 9/11. 24 years ago today, 3 days after today, we saw very little drugs because there was nothing coming into this country. So whatever was on the shelves, so to speak, is all there was. And shutting down and controlling our borders, and I'm not making this a border answer, but that does work in dealing with the drug crisis, because the fentanyl, most of that stuff is coming in from China. It's coming from other countries. A lot of our stuff comes in from China through Mexico. Close to 80% of our drugs are coming in through the Mexican border, or were coming in through the Mexican border. You'll start seeing, with the border being dealt with now, you'll start seeing substantial reductions, hopefully. But we also have xylazine trank right now. So, the bad guys always try to get one step ahead of us. And the fact that there's another drug coming in, is going to make it a little bit more difficult. But trank is much different than fentanyl. But the good thing about fentanyl, I don't mean that a good thing, is that we have so much Narcan on the street now. Everybody's got Narcan, so it really changes the outcome, that we're not seeing the deaths. The deaths are decreasing. We still have a lot of overdoses, but they're being reversed with the fentanyl. So what we need is to get people off these drugs. And I talk about law and order. I talk about locking people up, but we can't arrest our way out of the drug crisis. You've got to educate, but more importantly, you've got to make it readily available to get people into rehab. You've got to make it readily available and easy to get people into rehab that want the help, because they don't have 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 hours. Many times they don't even have 3 minutes at that moment that they want to get off drugs and they want to get sober, so to speak. Sometimes it's a 30-second window, and you have to be able to make that available. And I think I talked to the last podcast that that's what we have here now. We have an assessment center right here in the sheriff's office. So that's very important. Laura, this is also a great question from Laura. I'm just going down the order. It seems like police are being asked to be more like social workers, and more and more and more. When one of your people walks up to a situation, it's a clear mental health crisis, not a typical crime, what is in their toolbox? Okay, Laura, you must listen to podcasts before. I use that word all the time. How do you train them to get the person to help instead of just making the arrest? So we have co-responders. I'm trying to get them on the podcast. We talked about that. We started that in Bucks County about 5 years ago. Ben Salem was the first one. I started it right after the George Floyd. I actually called the county commissioners. Diane Marseglia, I got to give her credit. She was amazing getting this done. And I called her and I said, hey, I got an idea. We got together, and it was a star was born, and that was the co-responders. I told you about the story. I was on the job like 2 weeks, and a guy, I thought he was pulling a gun on me, and he reached around and threw his feces at me. And I was a second college graduate in Ben Salem Township at the time, and I thought to myself, what the hell am I doing here? So we are training law enforcement more in de-escalation, in dealing with mental health, and getting the co-responders out on the street. We have deputies here that are highly specialized trained in mental health, and they go out into the field to deal with folks that have warrants and folks that have criminal activity involved, and get them into the mental health system. Not everybody belongs in jail. Our judges here are so aware of this. They're amazing. They're amazing judges, and they know. And I don't want to give anybody not credit, but I know Judge Boylan she is a dynamo here. I think Judge Boylan does mental health court too. She does drug court. I hope it's her. I'm not messing it up, but she's amazing, as well as the rest of our judges here. So we're working hard in Bucks County to do that. Body cameras from Danielle. I've been in law enforcement a long time. What do you think about body cameras compared to when I started? When I brought body cameras to Ben Salem, it was a little bit of pushback. We were one of the first townships, maybe the first one in Bucks County to have it. It was pushback because my generation wasn't used to everything you're doing being on social media. I like body cameras. My experience in Ben Salem, only one cop ever got disciplined because of what he did on a body camera. It cleared cops, because most of our cops, Bucks County, our police officers do a great job. Somebody mess up once in a while, yeah, it happens, and they're dealt with. This generation of cop, it's the YouTube generation, it's the Snapchat generation, it's the Instagram generation. They don't, eat a new food without putting it on social media. They let everybody know a new outfit that they bought. So these generation of cops, this is an easy sell. So I love the body cameras and the in-car cameras. It tells the whole story, and I think it's amazing. Diane, Sheriff, the horrific story of Charlotte last month about a young Ukrainian refugee. The fact is, it was so random that the man who apparently had a long rap sheet of mental health. Yeah, how do we? What are you and other law enforcement agencies in Bucks County doing to prevent these tragedies? So SEPTA has their own police department, and I know they take a lot of proactive measures. Um, we try to deal with a lot of mental health here. Our judges are pretty good. Um, you heard me in my opening. You know, people need to be held accountable. You've been locked up 14 times. It's time you have a place, and the county pays for your meals for the rest of your life. I mean, that's just the fact of cost of doing business, theoretically. Um, some people you can't be. There are bad people in the world. You know, someone has sex with a 4-year-old boy is a bad person. They are an evil person. There's no other way of describing it. People that just continue to commit crime over and over again. If it's crime, and we've talked about this, 80% of crime is drug related. If their crime is because of their drug habit, and this is not the case in Charlotte, he had mental health issues as well as a long rap sheet. He needs to be maybe institutionalized for the rest of his life. There are bad people because of one reason or another, whether mental health or criminal. Some people should not be on the street. And I believe in that. I also believe there are people that need help and can be rehabilitated. And getting them off drugs will stop them committing crime. That is a fact, not a theory, a fact. If we can get you off of drugs, we can get you to stop committing crime. So I hope that answers you. I also went on, early in the early part about that as well. A question about yesterday about Charlie Kirk. We just talked about that as well. Why is an elected official held to 3-minute public comment in the commissioners' meeting? I don't know the answer to that. I've been told, this is what I've been told, it's a commissioners' meeting, not a row officers' meeting, and not other elected. Fair enough. But when I have something to say or something of importance about the office, I'm held to 3 minutes. I went over that one time, and I had my own microphone on because I knew they were going to cut me off, and I thought the message was important. The role of officers in schools and the sheriff's office, I've made this pledge. Anybody that needs a school resource officer, I will be more than happy to supply them with it. Not everybody thinks that of the county in government, and it's okay. Hey, I'm disagreeing. I'm not yelling. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not threatening. We can disagree. They have one political view. I have another. You know what? Scratch that. It's not a political view. They have one view on safety. I have another view on safety. Yeah, I've been doing this for 39 years. I might know something, a thing or two. But any school resource officer should be in every single school district across America, not just Bucks County. This is where we are. I said it before a couple of episodes ago when we talked about school shootings. If it can happen in a one-room Amish schoolhouse, it can happen anywhere. And that, folks, was in Pennsylvania. And we will pick up on questions next week. And we've got a lot more. My problem is I can talk. So I sometimes I don't answer these questions quick enough. Say hello to your neighbor today. Don't throw anybody the bird because they cut you off in a car, or they were a little slow getting off their brake and they're hitting their gas at a green light, not a red light. That's what they're supposed to do at a red light. At a green light. If someone disagrees with you, talk to them. I had this conversation with a good friend of mine today on 2 issues on the way into work. This person did not agree with and we're still, guess what? We're still friends. We go to dinner. We talk. We text. We see each other. Our families know each other. It's okay to disagree. And this person, hard disagreement on something I had an opinion on. And I said, talk to you soon. Have a great day. No, you're not my friend anymore. I can't believe you. I'm not talking to you anymore. We've got to stop, folks. Man, tomorrow's a gift. And that's the only guarantee I got tomorrow is that the sun's coming up. That's all I got. Whether I'm going to be here tomorrow or not, I don't know. I truly don't know. Whether a family member is going to be hurt today, I don't know. I only know the sun's coming back. I'm pretty sure of that one. Until next week, love each other, man. This has got to stop. This has to stop. I love you all, whether you agree with me or not. I love this county, and God knows I love this great country of ours. On September 11th, 2025, thinking back for 24 years ago. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you for joining us as we explore another aspect of law enforcement in Bucks County. To stay up to date on future episodes and gain further insight into the work we do, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about the Bucks County Sheriff's Office and the services we provide, please visit our website and be sure to download the official Bucks County Sheriff's Office app, available on Google Play and in the App Store. Join us next time for another in-depth look at law and order right here in Bucks County.